Friday of the 10th week in Ordinary Time.
A reading from the first book of Kings. At the mountain of God, Horeb, Elijah came to a cave where he took shelter. But the word of the Lord came to him, "Go outside and stand on the mountain before the Lord. The Lord will be passing by." A strong and heavy wind was rending the mountains and crushing rocks before the Lord, but the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake there was fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. After the fire there was a tiny whispering sound. When he heard this, Elijah hid his face in his cloak and went and stood at the entrance of the cave. A voice said to him, "Elijah, why are you here?" He replied, "I've been most zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts. But the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant, torn down your altars, and put your prophets to the sword. I alone am left, and they seek to take my life." The Lord said to him, "Go, take the road back to the desert near Damascus. When you arrive, you shall anoint Hazael as king of Aram. Then you shall anoint Jehu, son of Nimshi, as king of Israel, and Elisha, son of Shaphat of Abel-Meholah, as prophet to succeed you." The word of the Lord.
The responsorial psalm. The response is, "I long to see your face, O Lord. Hear, O Lord, the sound of my call. Have pity on me and answer me. Of you my heart speaks. You my glance seeks. I long to see your face, O Lord. Your presence, O Lord, I seek. Hide not your face from me. Do not in anger repel your servant. You are my helper. Cast me not off. I long to see your face, O Lord. I believe that I shall see the bounty of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord with courage. Be stout-hearted and wait for the Lord. I long to see your face, O Lord."
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to his disciples, "You have heard that it was said, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I say to you, everyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than to have your whole body thrown into Gehenna. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than to have your whole body go into Gehenna. It was also said, 'Whoever divorces his wife must give her a bill of divorce.' But I say to you, whoever divorces his wife, unless the marriage is unlawful, causes her to commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery." The Gospel of the Lord.
The first reading comes from 1 Kings 19, 9a and 11 to 16. Elijah has had this wonderful victory over the priests of Baal on Mount Carmel. You think it would go well, but the exact opposite happens. Jezebel threatens to kill him, and so he becomes a bit depressed. God nourishes him and then sends him to Mount Horeb. Now, Mount Horeb is another name for Mount Sinai, where the Israelites had received the law of Israel. While he's there, he encounters God not in an earthquake, not in a fire, not in a hurricane, but rather in a small whispering breeze. The message that God often acts in simple ways, everyday ways. Instead of looking for God only in powerful miracles, we should recognize the small miracles of our everyday life. What are some of the everyday things that Elijah is called to do? Anoint a new king for Israel. In fact, Israel was a bit of a banana republic. The dynasties changed very rapidly. Elijah is supposed to say that the favor of God is upon Jehu, who is a general in the army. He's to anoint Elisha as his successor, but he's also to anoint a new king for Syria, Hazael. That's very interesting because why would God care about Syria? God has the chosen people, the people of Israel. But remember, there's only one God that exists. That's what we heard on Mount Carmel. And if that's the case, then God has to be the God of all nations, and he cares even about the pagan peoples. The Gospel is from Matthew 5:27-32. Again, a continuation of the Sermon on the Mount. Yesterday we heard about how Jesus expanded the commandment not to kill. Today he uses the same technique to expand the commandment not to commit adultery. Jesus says if you've committed adultery in your heart, you've already done it. In other words, we should be chaste. Our thoughts should be as pure as possible. That doesn't mean if we have an occasional sexual temptation that is a sin. Remember, temptations are temptations. They're not sins in themselves. What we do with the temptation could become sinful. But very often these thoughts just enter our mind without us wanting it. At the same time, that which we read, that which we watch, the way we talk about people can have a tremendous effect on the way that we are dealing with people, whether we're treating them with dignity or whether we're treating them as sexual objects. And then at the end, Jesus forbids divorce. This is something that we find in all three synoptic Gospels as well as in Paul's letters. That divorce, even though it was a Jewish commandment, is not something acceptable. And may God bless us.